Let's bring in Tyler next. Oh, Tyler is in the waiting room and on the call. Let's see which Tyler we can talk to. Ah, that one worked.
Hey, can you hear me, man?
I can hear you. Thank you for joining.
Awesome. It's good to be here.
Hey, it's good to have you. Welcome to the stream.
Thanks for having me, man. The last couple callers, uh, I heard them and they kind of colored what I was going to ask you. So, um, I just got a 3-year-old. She wants to say hello.
Nice.
You want to say hello? Say hi.
Hello. Hello. Hi. What's
Having
up?
kids, they just barge in sometimes.
Of course,
They
the
love
boss.
music, though. Anyway, I'm starting a YouTube channel, and it's not just music. I kind of got into it for politics, but I'm also a high school teacher, and I have a copy of Ableton Live set up in the classroom, and sometimes while they're writing a paper, I teach English, so if they're writing a paper, we'll make a little beat or make some lo-fi, and I want to be able to get to where I can, really teach them. I don't think the having a class. I like the idea of like a dedicated computer lab,
Yeah.
and maybe not a class, but like a club after school. Because you got to jump through all the hurdles of getting, Ableton on everybody's device and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then the kids, the kids like me and you that
Yeah.
growing up, I grew up on Taking Back Sunday and Brand New, and then moved into Kanye and DJ Shadow. And so I think we probably have similar trajectories, but the kids that are really going to learn it are going to go home, save up their, yard mowing money, buy a PC. And so on my path, what I've been doing to learn, because I remember back in 2009, I was sitting around trying to learn Ableton Live, and I would watch YouTube videos, and then, I'd get frustrated trying to learn to sample, and I'd give up, and then I'd try again a few years later. And so I thought a good way to learn would just to do a live stream. And I've been doing those on my channel. Like every Thursday night, I do a live stream and I read the Ableton manual. Because I don't know if you remember back in the Reddit days, it was always read the effing manual, right?
RTFM, yeah.
What do you think about that as a way to learn? I mean, that's my question, really. What do you think about read the effing manual?
I hate that advice, if I'm being honest. And me and my friend Claire, who she was on stream like earlier this month, she's an Ableton certified trainer. She's a professor at Berkeley. She's really killer, but she is a strong proponent of read the damn manual, right? She's a strong proponent of that. And I know where she's coming from, right? Here's the thing. When people say that, what happens on Reddit, what happens on forums, and what people do in my comment section is, oh, how do I do XYZ? Like the most basic thing. And that is all in the manual. How to do the basic stuff is all in the manual, sure. But what I find is not helpful when you're trying to learn a piece of software that is like a creative piece of software. Like we're not learning how to repair a refrigerator. We're not learning about like electronic components or something where we're not putting together IKEA furniture. You know what I mean? So we're using a piece of creative software because we want to make something, right? So for me, like project-based learning, like learning by making something, like learning through the process. Like if you look at my Ableton Live for Beginners series, it starts. Here's what most terrible tutorials do. The first episode is, here's Ableton Live. Over here is where the library is. Down here is where the mixer is. And then your MIDI notes go here. And then over there is your master channel. They just tell you where everything is. They don't tell you how to use any of it. And then by the time you get to the next lesson, they told you all this crap that you like can't actually apply yet. and you're going to forget by the time you need to apply it. So then you get to episode 3 where they're like, oh, and turn the send up so you can get a little reverb. And you're like, what is the send? What are you talking about? Where is that knob? And it's like, okay, because you didn't introduce that information in the order like it was necessary for you to make something. So the manual is very much structured like a reference guide. I think manuals are a good reference guide. And there's kind of no excuse now with digital manuals that you can download where if you have a question, like a technical question, that's not like some nuanced thing that's like, how do I do XYZ? Command F and search those terms in the manual. So from that perspective, I agree with read the manual. Like if you're hitting a technical roadblock or something, or if you're wondering if a function exists even, Command F in the manual. But in terms of learning how to actually use the software, I think the manual is just a companion to like make like approaching it, trying to make something, and actually like it's actually like setting yourself up to hit roadblocks. Like you're like, okay, I want to record guitar today. And then, okay, to record guitar, I need to record into an audio track, if you know that. But like, oh, how do I record into that audio track? I need to arm it. And then, am I going to record in a session clip? Am I going to record it in arrangement view? How do I set up these playheads? Like, there's a lot of layers to that I could teach very easily if somebody just told me they wanted to record guitar. If I told you to just read the manual, like there's not a sequence, like there's no sequence you could go through the manual and figure out how to record guitar specifically. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, I've noticed even reading through the manual from beginning to end, it's like, you know, I'm a father too. I teach at high school. Like I'm kind of busy. I'm trying to do the YouTube thing, but I set aside an hour every week where I'll read the manual as a live stream as a way to like kind of publicly force me to read through it, you know? Yeah. And I found that, okay, guys, today we're going to start at page 141 in chapter 5. And I forgot what we learned in chapter 1.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's not a narrative. It's not like a novel that you read and this character was had some challenge at the beginning and then they overcame that challenge at the end and you remember that they that they had the challenge. It's not like that. So what I would say for you is like, first of all, I think live streaming as just a forcing mechanism for you to publicly like progress, I think that's great. That's fine. That's totally fine. What I would do instead though is like have a real project in mind. Like, what do you want to accomplish? Like it could be like a full project. Like I want to make a rock song, or it could be like today I just want to record guitar. And what you should do is just try to accomplish that over the course of a stream with the manual at your side. And every time you hit a roadblock, you can reference the manual, but there's also a lot of other great, there's a lot of great resources out there, other tutorials, other guides on how to do stuff. Like you're going to learn better. Like say, okay, you sit down for a stream. I want to record guitar today. You try to set it up on your own, the basic process for recording guitar. You follow along with the manual every time you hit a roadblock, and you get to a point where you're recording guitar. But there's a lot of nuance to recording guitar. So when you type into YouTube how to record guitar in Ableton Live, you're going to find somebody who's like, well, I like to do it like this, and I put this effect on there. Right. And everybody's got their own secret sauce. So you taking in all that info and figuring out what your secret sauce is going to basically be what the magic is. But along the way, you've learned the foundational stuff. On top of that foundation, you get to build like, this is how I do it. This is how I'd like to do it, you know?
Well, I think that's kind of what pushed me back to the manual, because I bet I watched 100 YouTube videos on like how to use Ableton Live like an MPC to chop up soul samples like Kanye. And I bet I got it explained to me 100 different ways. And it was always frustrating to me because I felt like people would show them playing awesome chops and I'd just start grooving, and then he'd be like, well, I just chopped this up real quick.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't explain how he did that. You know, I'm like, okay.
There's a ton of bad instruction, but it does mean like the foundational stuff has to be there. Like if you want to chop up a sample, you got to understand how Simpler works. You have to understand that Simpler has a slicing mode. You have to understand warping. You have to understand like you have to understand basic like rhythmic grids. What's an eighth note? What's a quarter note? You know? So there's a lot of foundational stuff there. And like, I don't blame people for like just being like overwhelmed with it all. And I
Right.
don't think there's anything wrong with like feeling overwhelmed in that. But what most people don't understand is like you need both a musical foundation, like a music theory foundation, and a technical
Hmm.
foundation. And both of those things are like intense learning processes. I don't mean it's intense to be like scary, but like they're like deep learning
No,
things. Yeah.
no, if I could give some advice to my younger self, like I'm 36. So when I was 16, I compared myself to Connor Oberst. You know, I had to have a Rolling Stone top 5 record of the year by the age of 22. That's
Right.
the age he was. And if I wasn't, then I was a failure.
Yeah.
And to any young people listening, like for me, being an old, middle-aged man is awesome because I'm like, you know what? I still love making music. I still love Ableton. I'm going to learn this for the rest of my life, a little bit at a time, and
Yep.
that takes the pressure off. Okay, today I'll practice pentatonic scales on guitar. Today maybe I'll do some sampling, and I'm just trying to model that in the classroom. That's actually how I found you. Is we have a study hall at the end of the day, and kind of the deal is like teachers, you can do whatever you want, but kind of do something productive. And so I put on your Learn Ableton video, and we watched the whole series together in front
Oh,
of my class.
nice.
So I thought you would think that was cool, but
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. Well, that's great, man. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I think you're absolutely right. The project thing, I love that you've made songs in the past 24 hours because for me, I'll go back and just watch everything you did, and I am the guy that zooms in on the
Yeah, that's what you
details.
got to do.
Like
Yeah.
I met Greg Gillis once of Girl Talk,
Nice.
and just talking to somebody for 5 minutes, he can be like, no man, I use audio mulch, but you should probably try Ableton. Audio mulch is pretty complicated. um, Dr. Dre makes great songs, and he's not a mathematician about how he slices samples. There's a
Yeah.
million ways to do this. And yeah, so I appreciate being able to go back through, and you reminded me like, oh, I got to get Guitar Rig again. I love that program, and seeing all that. But I'm gonna keep grinding, man, just to get through the manual, and then once I get through it, I'd love to get in touch with you, maybe give you some money, and you can explain some of the things I'm still having trouble with.
Heck yeah, bro. I mean, the number one thing you said was like, I'm in this for the rest of my life and I love
That's
doing
right.
it and whatever. So if
Amen.
you have that, like you said, there's no pressure. You can go through it for the love of it. Uh, and that's all we can ask for, right? That's a good
That's
life.
right. My watch out for my debut hip hop album. This is T Mac at 40. It's
All
gonna
right.
bump.
Got you. Got you. Can't wait to hear it.
Take it easy, man.
See
Appreciate what you
you.
do.
Thank you, man. Have a good one. A good call. A great call.